Hello, welcome from the shadows. I'm Taiga the Reaver. Before I begin, I should clarify that I'm not an event expert. I haven't reached 12 wins yet, but I've come close on many occasions. So, with all of this, let's get started. We currently have 3 warlords for both traitors and loyalists. Among the options for the loyalists are Shadrach Medusan, Irud Von, and the new warlord of the Mechanicum. For the traitors, we have horushearsay, Lupercal, Kurtha said, word-bearers, and Horus. Okay, first things first. See the bar that shows which faction is winning? Well, you'll most likely see this and say, oh, if that faction is winning, then I should play with the loyalist factions to have a better chance. Which is partly true. Right now the loyalists are winning over the traitors. But before choosing, consider the following. Do I know the faction? Do I know how to play it? Do I have problems with it under certain circumstances? Do I know which cards go in and out of the deck with the options the event gives me? If you answered yes, congratulations. You know what you're doing, and you'll do pretty well in the event. If not, let me tell you, sometimes the safe option isn't the best option. For example, Maeve Crux is a terrible choice. Usually, warlords from neutral factions don't shine at all in these kinds of events, especially with factions like the Black Shields, Shattered Legions, and Word-Bearers, so let's start ruling him out as a general option, leaving us with the rest. Shadrach Medusan, I'll say it clearly, he's the best warlord for this event. There are no pros or cons. The Shattered Legions have established themselves as one of the most broken factions in the Beta Garmin expansion, so picking him is a good one. Irud Von. He is the second best option. If you don't get Medusan in the options to choose, you can use Irud Von. The Black Shields have the most versatile deck there is, and it also allows you to use your enemy's cards against them. I must clarify one thing before choosing Irud Von as your number 1 option, and that is, Irud Von is a warlord that works best with vehicles. He is known as one of the best users of the Mechanica mission, but here in this event, it is better to play him as if you were playing with any other Black Shields warlord, that is, more Astartes troops, tactics than vehicles. Since there are only 3 vehicles in the faction that are good, the rest are quite disposable and not recommended to use, in addition to the fact that this one can generate vehicles of cost 2 or less from any faction. Remember, if you have any issues or need assistance figuring out which cards to choose, or if you don't know how to build your faction, you can always go to the official Horus Heresy Legion server. Now, let's continue. Now we move on to the traitor side, and I'll be honest, there are no bad options here. They're all acceptable or decent, but I must say that Horus isn't a good option to choose in this event, especially with factions like Black Shield and Shattered Legions. So what options do we have? Kurtha said and Horus. Kurtha said, okay, this warlord is generic to the max. A perfect fit to fill a space that could have been filled by the worst warlord the Word-Bearers have, namely Zardulayak. But outside of that, Word-Bearers are pretty good. They've always stood out as the best in events, and this one is no exception to the rule. Kurtha said is decent in the best sense as a warlord, but with Word-Bearers, that's more than enough to make them a viable option if you know how to build and play them. For Rix, I had forgotten that this warlord was in the event. It is a very niche option, but if you like spamming barricades mixed with a vehicle that can do 10 damage to your face, it is quite decent, but seriously it is not the best option either, since to do this it requires a lot of configuration and time, which is not achieved if you face Shadrach Medusan. Horus itself isn't a bad option, but considering everything said above, do you really want to play Sons of Horus in this particular event? It's better to save yourself the losses and choose Kurtha said or Horus, only if you don't understand much about how Medusan or Irud Von are played and vice versa. Now, to conclude the video with solid conclusions based on everything already established, here are the best options without a doubt to choose if you're familiar with their faction. Irud Von, Shadrach Medusan, and Kurtha said. But the number 1 option to choose is Shadrach Medusan. Because of what I said about him and his faction above, if you don't want to play Shattered Legions, you have the other 2 options. The other 3 options are somewhat lacking, considering how the 3 factions I mentioned play. Horus himself isn't bad, but with the established factions, he's not a good option. Horus requires a lot of skill and knowledge of Iron Warrior combos, but his barricade and defense spam provides an alternative if you prefer to play something more defensive. And Maeve Crux, she's just pretty, but in this event, she's not worth playing with. And with this I end this guide. I hope it has been helpful here, Taiga the Reaver, and see you in the shadows. Goodbye.